Imagine walking into a high-end art gallery, excited to share your work, only to be met with sneers and dismissive laughter. That's exactly what happened to Marcus, a talented Black artist with a unique vision and passion for his craft. The gallery owner, blinded by prejudice and arrogance, mocked Marcus and his work, not realizing the extraordinary value hidden within each piece. But life has a funny way of turning the tables. Little did the gallery owner know, Marcus's art wasn't just beautiful, it was worth millions. And Marcus, he wasn't just any artist. He was about to transform from a struggling creator to someone who could own galleries like this one. This is a story of how Marcus went from being underestimated to taking control of his destiny in a way no one saw coming. Stay tuned. This is a story of karma, resilience, and ultimate success. Marcus had spent years perfecting his craft, pouring his heart and soul into every brushstroke. His work told stories of his upbringing, his struggles, and his triumphs. But despite his undeniable talent, he faced rejection after rejection in the art world. Today, he thought, might finally be different. He'd heard about this gallery's reputation for showcasing groundbreaking artists, and with his portfolio in hand, he was ready to take a chance. But the moment Marcus stepped through the gallery's doors, he felt the weight of judgment. The gallery owner barely glanced at his work before dismissing it as too urban, and not their style. The mockery stung, but Marcus held his composure, quietly gathering his pieces and leaving with a small smile that hinted at something the owner couldn't see. Because Marcus knew something they didn't, he wasn't just an artist anymore. He was on the verge of a life-changing revelation. As Marcus walked out of the gallery, his mind raced. The rejection wasn't new, but the blatant disrespect left him with a bitter taste. Still, Marcus wasn't one to dwell on negativity. Instead, he reminded himself of his journey, the collectors who had already recognized his work's brilliance, the exhibitions where his pieces had been met with awe. What the gallery owner didn't know was that Marcus's art had been quietly gaining traction among high-profile buyers and influential critics. Later that evening, Marcus attended an event hosted by a renowned art collector. The room buzzed with chatter about his latest series, which had recently sold for staggering amounts. Among the guests were gallery owners, curators, and investors, including some who had once ignored him, but now spoke of his work with admiration. But then, a familiar face caught his eye, the gallery owner from earlier that day. Unaware of Marcus's growing success, they were about to learn a lesson in humility. Marcus watched from across the room as the gallery owner mingled with collectors, confidently touting their supposed expertise in discovering groundbreaking talent. It was ironic, considering how they dismissed him just hours earlier. Marcus stayed in the shadows for a moment, listening as whispers of his name rippled through the crowd. His work had become a sensation, and tonight's event was another celebration of his success. Finally, Marcus approached the host of the event, an influential collector who had been one of his earliest supporters. They greeted him warmly, drawing the attention of everyone nearby, including the gallery owner. As introductions were made, the gallery owner's expression shifted from polite curiosity to disbelief. They stammered slightly, realizing Marcus wasn't just another guest. He was the guest of honor. The tension in the air was palpable as the gallery owner struggled to reconcile the artist they'd mocked with the man commanding the admiration of the room. As the gallery owner tried to mask their shock, Marcus maintained a calm, confident demeanor. He wasn't one for public confrontation, but he couldn't ignore the irony of the situation. Just as the gallery owner began to compose themselves, the host interrupted with a surprise announcement. "Ladies and gentlemen," the host said, raising their glass, "tonight, we honor an artist whose vision has redefined modern art. But there's more. Marcus has recently acquired one of the most prestigious art spaces in the city, a place that I'm sure many of you recognize." The room erupted in applause, but Marcus noticed the gallery owner's face turn pale. The host continued, describing the sale in detail, revealing that Marcus had purchased none other than the gallery where he'd been humiliated earlier that day. The crowd murmured in astonishment, while Marcus caught the gallery owner's wide-eyed stare. This was more than a twist, it was a reckoning. The applause settled, but the tension in the room remained electric. Marcus took a deep breath and stepped forward, finally addressing the crowd. "Thank you for your support and belief in my work. It's been a journey, one that's brought me full circle in ways I never expected." His eyes briefly locked with the gallery owner, who now stood frozen, trying to blend into the crowd. "I purchased the gallery not out of spite, but because I see potential to create a space where artists, regardless of background, are valued for their creativity and vision," Marcus continued. The room erupted into cheers, but Marcus raised a hand, signaling for quiet. "And to the person who once doubted me," he said, his tone calm but firm, "thank you. Your rejection was the fuel I needed to rise." The gallery owner's face burned with embarrassment as the crowd erupted once more. But just as the night seemed to end on a triumphant note, the host leaned into the microphone with a sly smile. "Oh, one last detail," they announced. "The gallery's new name. It'll carry the name of the artist who now owns it, Marcus." The room rolled with approval as Marcus stood tall, a symbol of resilience and success. The gallery owner slipped out quietly, leaving behind the weight of their own prejudice as Marcus stepped into his well-earned spotlight. As the event wound down, Marcus found himself surrounded by friends, collectors, and fellow artists who celebrated his incredible journey. The gallery he now owned wasn't just a space for art, it was a symbol of change, a place where emerging artists would be nurtured, not dismissed. Walking through the crowd, Marcus couldn't help but reflect on how far he'd come. The rejections, the doubts, and even the mockery had shaped him into the artist and person he was today. Each setback had been a stepping stone to something greater. Later that night, as Marcus stood outside the venue looking at the city lights, he felt a deep sense of peace. Success wasn't just about proving others wrong. It was about staying true to yourself and creating opportunities for others to shine. His story had come full circle, but for Marcus, it wasn't the end. It was just the beginning of something even bigger.